Hello everyone, thank you for joining me. Welcome to Just K, the channel of everything that is health from a mind, body, and soul perspective. To all my subscribers, thank you for joining me again. I love you and I'm glad to have you. If you're new here, consider clicking on that subscribe button and kick back and get comfortable while we talk about, right now, spiritual health. In the last video, we talked about some ancient Egyptian practices. We've also talked about honoring our ancestors. I will link those videos right here. Today, we're going to explain a little bit deeper into some of those stories and kind of go in a little bit to what it has to do with your health. First, let me remind you that the indigenous African spiritual practices was a culture and an identity, a way of life that was passed down from parent to child. These values and principles were taught through stories that connected things that needed to be connected. They included either characters or people that once played a major role in society as they lived in life. Not only did these stories speak of aspects and attributes of this universe, they were crafted in a way that embodied the importance of the generational knowledge and wisdom, teaching us to honor our ancestors and ancestry so that wisdom and knowledge could grow. Fairy tales and fables you've grown up on are much the same way. Fictional stories that created a lesson or a value were told in a way that young people could understand and take it in and relate to. I'm going to give you some examples. Have you ever heard of the story Charlotte's Web? Charlotte's Web was about a pig named Wilbur who lived in a barn on a farm, and the barn he was in, he was set out to be slaughtered. Charlotte was a spider who lived in a corner of his barn. Charlotte and Wilbur become friends, and Charlotte learns of Wilbur's impending slaughter. So Charlotte uses her web to create these beautiful designs that attract attention, and this attention eventually saves Wilbur from slaughter. However, Charlotte is a spider, so natural forces take over, Charlotte dies. We know that there are no spiders and pigs talking to each other. We know that there's no spider that's going to come and save a pig with these elaborate webs. But what the story taught you was, it taught friendship, it taught loyalty, it taught death, it taught coming up with something to do under pressure. Another story you might be familiar with is the Three Little Pigs. The story of the Three Little Pigs was the three pig brothers are going out on their own and they're making houses for themselves. The first brother is extremely lazy and he just wants to party, so he hurries up and erects his house with sand. The next brother, he's also lazy, but he's going to better his brother, and so he's going to take an extra hour. He's going to take an extra hour and he's going to cut some wood and build his house of sticks. The third brother is not so lazy and he wants an elaborate house, but he wants a substantial house, so he's building his house of brick. The two brothers are out partying and having fun. The third brother is hard at work building his house of brick. The houses are built, the brother's okay. A wolf comes by and says, "I'm going to blow your house down." He blows the house of sand down. That brother goes to the house of sticks. The wolf comes, blows the house of sticks down. That brother goes to the house. Those two brothers goes to the house of bricks. The wolf huffs and he puffs, but he cannot blow the house of bricks down. The morals in those stories are the difference between laziness and hard work. It talks about fun versus work. It talks about building solid foundations versus shaky ones, because we know that there are no pigs that are going to come out into this world and live like humans in society. But we accept these fables as we reject the ones from our elders, the ones that began in time. Both of those fables, just like the stories of our ancestors, through time have been altered a little, adapted to suit the time, but the core still remains the same. The lessons are still the same. So why do we villainize ancient Egyptian practices, African practices in general? Why do we villainize anyone else's practice when it all goes back to the same thing? Your spirit or your breath is part of the natural force. It's your soul. African spirituality combines the many forces or energies of this world, both positive and negative. Instead of pushing perfection to negate punishment, it just gives the truth. There's no promise of salvation. There's work towards transcendence. Humans and all the things around us are part of that force that created us, and a perfect and an imperfect force. We start closer to perfect, and as we become aware of our surroundings and the choices, we move toward imperfect. The elders and ancestors in our society have learned to harness perfect forces better than we have. They have learned to protect from equal forces, as well as the natural plants and herbs and values of nature that aid us in those things. The maturity of the mind, the body, and the soul creates the importance of our ancestors and our deities before us. Do you have a close family member that has passed and it's had a positive impact on your life? And when you think about that person, you feel really good. Or when you're about to make a decision, you're like, oh, what would such and such do? That's honoring your ancestors. And that's the way we should be doing it. Do you keep pictures of a deceased one close by because you get comfort from that? The feelings that you get from the memory of those things is an energy form. And we want to bring more of that energy to us to aid us as Black people, as a society as a whole. You don't have to be a Black person to honor those ancestors who were positive and had a positive impact in this world. That's the energy all around that we want to create. Christianity teaches us of angels and spirit guides that protect and guide you. Who better to guide you than those who loved you while they were alive? My father didn't stop being my father after he passed away. The connection didn't stop. I hope I've given you something to consider as we think about the energies at play in this world. In our next video, we're going to discuss the way the negative energies work. It's important to understand this, whether it be through the stories of the Yoruba of Nigeria, the Yoruba of Cuba, ancient Egyptian civilization, Christianity, whatever the source may be. Understand these energies, because that's going to go a long way in your spiritual health. I hope you enjoyed this video. I can't wait to see you in the next. Until then, let's be healthy, happy, and prosperous together.